Welcome to Main Street Minds with your host, Amish Munshi. This is where industry leaders and seasoned pros share their secrets to success beyond limits. Let's dive in.
Hi, welcome to Main Street Minds. This is where we help new people coming in the tech industry meet and learn from seasoned experts like Jim. Thanks, Jim, for coming on a busy Saturday morning, taking time away from your work schedule and helping the audience learn more about the industry. Thanks for joining. So without any delay, I'll open up the floor. Jim, it's up to you. Go ahead, introduce yourself and kind of share your career journey.
Okay. I'm Jim McMaster. I have been writing software for a very, very long time. Graduated from MIT in 1977, spent a few years in the Army. But I've been writing software for a living for like 44 years. The last 25 years of it in Java. I spent 12 years at Google. I was the fourth person on the team or on the project that eventually became Google Drive.
Oh, wow.
So I contributed a lot to that. The files and folders setup was something I pushed for. Other people wanted tags like Gmail.
Mm-hmm.
And I convinced people that you can't share tags. You can share folders.
Yeah. I'm so glad you did that. Oh my God, I can't imagine life with tags. Google Drive is one of the best solutions out there for file sharing. I know Dropbox probably became a little more popular in the middle, but I can't see my life without Google Drive.
Yeah, tags work fine in Gmail because your Gmail is not shared with anybody.
Yeah, exactly. So that is a very rich, nice experience. Like, have you always been in Boulder?
No, I've lived here last 33 years.
Okay.
I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, went to school in Boston. The Army shipped me to California,
Oh, wow.
and I worked for at the time Martin Marietta Aerospace for 7 years. Then I moved to the Washington, D.C. area to work for a startup called VM Systems Group for a couple of years, and then Boulder.
Oh, nice. Cool. I'm glad you're liking it over there. You've been there for a little while now, so 33 years. I'm sure that's pretty much home now.
Yeah, my wife never wants to move. We've been in
Yeah.
the same house the whole time,
Yeah.
so we just don't want to move.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. So, what are some of you did mention you have been spending most of your time in Java. Was Google Drive also in Java?
Yes.
It was okay. I didn't realize that. Cool. So,
Yeah, Google had basically when I started 3 supported languages. There was C++,
mm-hmm.
Java, and Python, but Python could only be used for like internal tools.
Oh, okay.
For instance, their internal code review tool is written in Python, mostly because it was written by Guido van Rossum.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Yeah. Cool. So, do you still see the same approach, or is it matured a little more into different tools and technologies with Android coming up?
Go was added as an official language in Google before I left.
Okay.
But that was like 7-8 years ago, and I don't know anything since then.
Yeah, makes sense. So, what does your role entail now? Like, what are you doing right now?
I work for Geico.
Mm-hmm.
They are trying to make internal customer and policy data more readily available to people within the company.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're taking input from various systems, loading them into a database, and formatting it so people can use it.
Yeah, and data. I think data is everything, right? Especially
Yeah.
for an insurance company.
Yeah, the way they're doing it now is slower for doing ad hoc queries than they'd like. So we're migrating it to a new system.
Sweet. Nice, nice. So, how was your overall, like, how was your career journey? Like, I know last I think you said 22 years you have been doing Java. What made you change? Like, from what was the decision making?
A lot because I didn't want to move.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to 2000, I worked mostly in IBM 370 assembler language.
Mm-hmm.
I was working at Storage Tech, working on the software that ran on the mainframe and controlled the robotic tape libraries.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all assembler language. But Storage Tech had a pattern of basically Christmas layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
The CEO at the time believed in something called ratio management.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of the year, you project your revenues, and each department is allocated a percentage of those, a percentage of the revenue. If revenue falls off, it doesn't meet projections, then your budget is retroactively cut.
Mm-hmm.
So all the managers knew that. So very early in the year, they spent all their money on hardware and software.
Mm-hmm.
So in October, when it's apparent that you're not going to meet your revenue goals, the only thing you can cut is people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't get caught in any of those, but I decided, hey, if they leave me off, nobody else around Boulder is writing 370 assembler language.
Yeah.
So I transferred out to a project written in C,
Mm-hmm.
and I worked there for a couple of months before my previous team borrowed me back. And then a couple of years later, I was going to move out to a project in C++. And I just barely got through the C++ language class when they borrowed me back.
Yeah.
So finally, I ran into a manager who had worked in the tape division, who had transferred to the disk division, and asked him if he had any openings. He did.
Mm-hmm.
So I transferred out of the tape division, where it was harder for them to borrow me back. And he said, well, what do you want to work on? I said, I don't know. And he said, well, we've got this new project we're starting in this language called Java. Are you interested? And I said, okay. And I've been doing it ever since.
Sweet. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a pretty amazing transition. And I think that brings that validates one very important point, saying people might change companies, people might change teams, but the relationship you have with the people you work within what you work with, like 9 to 5, the people you interact with, that is the most important part. Right? The companies can change, but you might just go back and have relationships with people, then that is what makes a big difference.
Yeah. Basically when I decided to leave Storage Tech, there were all kinds of people who wanted Java developers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big transition from completely non-OO to OO. And I was doing OO very badly because I didn't understand it. I read the Gang of Four Patterns book a couple of times
Mm-hmm.
and just didn't get it.
Yeah.
The only pattern I understood was the singleton. I overused singleton, which is a bad thing. But after a few years, I picked up Martin Fowler's refactoring book,
Mm-hmm.
which is a classic. And I read that, and it's kind of the light came on because he explains what is good OO, what is bad OO, what are some code smells that indicate you're doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I highly recommend that book. Now, it's better if you can borrow a copy because most of the book is no longer relevant
Mm-hmm.
because the bulk of it is detailed instructions, step-by-step instructions on how to extract a method or
Okay.
rename a variable. Things that now you hit a keystroke in your IDE and it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but the first like 4 or 5 chapters and the last chapter are pure gold.
Yeah.
Everybody doing OO should read that.
Yeah. 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 And I'll include a link to that book in the description. So
Okay.
yeah, that will be very helpful. I remember like when I think when I was in college there was no Java, or maybe it was like very very new, and
Mm-hmm.
I learned most of my programming in like C++, and then I was like, how can a language that has one more layer of runtime requirements, not having as many features, and C++ being able to do everything that Java does, how can
Mm-hmm.
that be a better language? Right? It's it
Well, it takes out, it handles garbage collection for you, which
Yeah,
is a big win for Java.
yeah,
Plus, the Java virtual machine um, initially was very slow. I
yeah,
mean, it just was. And
yeah,
everything you did in Java was slow.
yeah,
And there were people who published all kinds of, cute performance tricks and performance hacks for making it run faster. And those spread through software and not in a good way. But over the years, Java got better and better.
yeah.
Now you've got the hotspot compiler that runs in the JVM.
Mm-hmm.
And if it notices a piece of code is being executed very often, it will
Yeah,
compile it to run very, very efficiently.
yeah,
It will inline loops. I mean, it'll inline methods. It will unroll loops, whatever it takes to make it run faster. And as of several years ago, benchmarks were showing that Java actually ran faster than C++
yeah, yeah,
for practical applications.
yeah,
It takes longer to get to that, a little while to get to that point because Hotspot has to figure out what you're doing. But it can do optimizations at runtime that a coder cannot do at when he's writing the software.
yeah, yeah.
So it really is it really does have a lot of advantages.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as a matter of fact, if people are reading, these Java hacks to make it a little faster, do not use them
Yeah,
because if you code it the most straightforward way possible, the cleanest, most straightforward way possible, it's likely to match something that the hotspot will pick up and optimize for you.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because the way they do the hotspot optimization is the Java developers uh, will survey code from across the web and
mm-hmm.
find things that lots of people are doing, figure out how to make it faster, and program it into hotspot.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing some oddball thing
Mm-hmm.
because you think it's efficient, that'll never get optimized.
Yeah, yeah. Makes sense. So, uh, from a career perspective, what when you look back and see like there is when somebody is entering the tech industry, they get
Mhm.
like it's a little difficult to get in the tech industry because just so many options are available, right? Like there's always something new that shows up saying, hey, I just finished learning Angular JS and now I need to learn React JS. It's like
Yeah,
you're doing, isn't it the same thing? Like we are solving the same problem.
they are. And people, frameworks become the fad of the day. Um, I don't enjoy JavaScript.
yeah,
I can do it, but I'm not really good at it. I've never learned it. Um, I've tried to stick on the back end. At one point at Google, um, they it wanted to make Google Drive into a music application, so
hmm.
you could, do music. And I love music, so I said I want to work on that.
Yeah,
And so we worked on adding all different file types to the things you could upload. At first, it was just PDFs. And then they acquired some software that lets you upload like Microsoft documents.
Office, yeah.
But we added, videos and photos and music and, a bunch of different things. And the thing is, that was about half Java and half JavaScript. And, I was doing it and it was okay. And then when that project was over, they said, okay, all you guys are going to go to the front end team. And I said, and I went back to the drive manager, the back end manager, and said, can I come back?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to get stuck doing things I would hate. That's a recipe for burnout.
Yeah.
My mantra has always been find something you love and get really good at it. And for me, that's back end stuff. So for people getting into the industry, I recommend you find something you really like doing and then learn everything you can about how to do that well.
Yeah.
So, it is hard to break in. I mean, things have changed. Back when I was getting started in the early 1980s, companies were willing to hire good, smart people and train them to do what they wanted.
Yeah.
Like my first job was as a DUS VSE system programmer. I'd never done that, but they said he can learn it, and I became a really good one. But nowadays, companies only seem to want to hire somebody who's already doing the job they're hiring for.
Yeah.
They don't want to spend any time training, bringing up to speed. And that makes it really hard for young people to break in. Along, the mid to late 80s, shareholder value became the guiding principle for businesses. And, you don't want to spend any money that takes away from shareholder value. And training is just an expense. It's not an investment in their mind. Besides, you might spend all this money training and they go work for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, instead of training good people and making them happy enough that they never want to leave, they just make the requirements so tight that basically only somebody who's already doing that job can do it.
Yeah. I think it is backfiring on the companies because it indirectly means they are only I just think they end up paying a lot more. Maybe in total, it may be more efficient for the company. Saying earlier they needed to invest, let's say, 2 years into something. Now they're able to do it in 6 months, but they are paying almost double the money for that person now.
Yeah, and in the long term, I think they're doing their company a disservice. They're doing themselves a disservice.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a longer term relationship. It's like and with this whole concept of like with the Tiger teams and saying, hey, we have an issue. Let's just see what we can do. But why did you have the issue?
Yeah. It's that I think is why it's a lot harder for young people to get hired.
Yeah.
It's short-sighted, and as the workforce age, as you can tell, I'm fairly old. I could retire anytime I wanted to.
Yeah.
But I tried retirement for a few months last year and just hated it.
Yeah.
I missed not only the coding, but the relating with people, answering questions from younger developers, helping them get up to speed.
Yeah.
And, there's, like just this past week, being at Google, I have a lot of experience with protocol buffers. And Geico was using them, but people were doing not good things with them. They didn't understand them. So, a couple of times I talked to a more junior and say, okay, what do you know about protocol buffers? And they say, not much. So I went through, about a 20-minute tutorial on how to use protocol buffers. And after I'd done that twice, I decided to put together a presentation, and I just did it this past week, trying to tell everybody at once all about protocol buffers.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I just love doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed it so much when I was, like I said, I tried retirement for a few months.
Yeah. It's not easy. It like even right now, I go back and I'm like, I wish I could be doing some more coding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and just as you mentioned, like I come from a little more of the back end development, and
Hmm.
the fastest thing that I could be doing right now is like updating my website for something, and I look at that and I'm like, oh, this is this is not what I like to do. This is not what
Yeah.
I meant when I want to do coding. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm just going to try to work as long as I can.
Yeah, yeah. Until the time you're enjoying it, it's perfect. So, when let's say somebody's starting off with a career right now, as you mentioned, right? Like they need to have the skill set that is required, and there is just too many options, right? Everyone says, "Oh, this is the best, that is the best." Like, how would you recommend? Like, how should somebody approach their career if they are starting off?
Boy, I don't know. Pardon me. Sorry, I've got a little cough. Um, it, it's hard to tell. There's so many, like I say, there's so many options, and I can't personally say like which is the best JavaScript framework. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, but
Just
from not from a specific technology, but how
yeah,
should somebody approach it? Like, should they try and explore and try and learn different things and see if they like it or they don't like
yeah. I think you have to.
it? Mm-hmm.
You have to just find something you really like doing,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're stuck doing something you hate, you won't be good at it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just you won't be good, you won't be happy, you won't be successful. Um, but yeah, explore some different technologies, try them out, see if you're see if it's something you like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, it's back end Java development.
Yeah.
Um, it could be something completely different for another person.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, in within Java, like, what are some of the trends you are seeing right now? Like, where are we? What are some of the new things coming up?
Uh, shoot,
At what
there.
version are we at right now? When I finished, I think we were at 8.
Oh, it's like 23 or something.
Wow.
They do a new release every 6 months or so,
Oh, holy crap.
and
That's a lot.
yeah, and every once in a while they designate one as a long-term release.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 11 and 14 and I think 17.
Okay.
These are ones that if you're on that, it's going to be supported for several years.
Okay.
The intervening releases uh, can change,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have long-term support.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're on like Java 22 and it's not
Mm-hmm.
designated long-term release, they may break it, and then they may come out with Java 23
Mm-hmm.
and change something, break
Mm-hmm.
something. So it's harder to migrate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think most companies are picking, a long-term release and staying on
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Right now, most of our stuff in at Geico is on Java 21.
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple of things that are stuck on early releases like 17 or 11,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it's effort to do a migration.
Yeah. I was about to ask, like, is most of it still backward compatible? Like, can we just push it?
Most of it's backward compatible,
Okay.
but there are some changes. Before Java 11, when you got a time, it was in microseconds.
Mm-hmm.
After Java 11, it was nanoseconds.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was at a company called Avero, we migrated from 8 to 11, and we had bunches of unit tests that were comparing times,
Mm-hmm.
getting timestamps and then comparing them
Mm-hmm.
in protocol buffers. And all the tests broke because the times all of a sudden at nanosecond time doesn't equal the microsecond time.
Yeah.
So it was just, we had to go fiddle with things. And it's niggling stuff like that. It's not like you have to rewrite your whole application.
Yeah.
But there are some changes that, like, one of the old big migrations were Java used to have an enum class.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody said enum. Then they introduced the enum type.
Mm-hmm.
So lowercase enum became a reserved word.
Yeah.
So
It was like Java 6 or
yeah,
1.6.
1.5.
I
It was
remember seeing
1.5.
some issues with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that was a headache to migrate. You just had to go over and rename every enum instance you'd ever created.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, there are things like that. It's not like your code won't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, it's, um, like I said, I'm glad they're on 21 because there's a lot of new features in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure exactly where they come in because I was on 11 and, they missed a whole bunch of releases and I got here and they're on 21. They've improved the streams.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more classes support them. They've added the record type, which is a quicker way of just doing value classes.
Mm-hmm.
They keep adding great new stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
getting there can be a little bit of work.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I used to do more of system implementations and identity and access management and like software already written in Java. And like every time like there would be an end of life of one of the JREs, we would be like, holy crap, the whole application needs to be migrated to a newer version. And
Yeah.
yeah, all the business functionality and everything has to be redone and retested and everything. It used to be always such a big thing. And most of the times it was more of a security concern saying if we don't get security patches for the old JRE,
Yeah.
it's just too risky to keep things up in the internet exposed.
Yeah. And it used to be that, people would migrate for new features, but I think that's misguided too, because there are new things, like if you're not at least on Java 8 and using streams and lambdas, you're making your life a lot harder.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Cool. So, going back to kind of where you see things headed, like, are you seeing just the same amount of interest from companies in Java skills, or has that changed?
I don't really have a good view of the market.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think Java is going to be around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
As is C++, as is Python.
Yeah.
Ruby was really hot for a while, but I don't see that interest that much anymore in Ruby.
Yeah.
But there are all kinds of languages based on the JVM.
Mm-hmm.
Groovy, Go, Kotlin.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of languages on there that work on the JVM.
Yeah.
I do think some people are interested in those,
Mm-hmm.
but personally, I think Java is going to be a good, stable platform for a long time.
Sure. And one of the more personal question, what's your favorite IDE?
I use IntelliJ.
Okay.
I used Eclipse for a long time because there wasn't a free version of IntelliJ, and I
Yeah.
really liked Eclipse.
Yeah.
But the last 3 companies I've worked for have all used IntelliJ, and it's just not worth the hassle to try to be on a.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
At Google, they had tons of support,
Mm-hmm.
extra tools that they built for both Eclipse and IntelliJ.
Yeah.
And at one point they said, okay, I was using Eclipse, and they announced that basically Eclipse support was going to be de-emphasized, and they were pushing everybody onto IntelliJ. So
yeah,
I moved, and then there was so much pushback that they reinstated the Eclipse support.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've tried, I think I might be exactly at that same phase where I tried IntelliJ and then I go back and I'm like, it's just easy, right? The same commands work. Everything works in Eclipse. Why do we need something? Why do we need to change? And I'm sure
Yeah.
the exact people that are more familiar with IntelliJ might have the same argument.
Yeah, the keystrokes for IntelliJ to me don't make sense. I still use the Eclipse key mappings in
Yeah.
IntelliJ. You can select that in your key maps
Interesting. Yeah.
because, Control N for new is better than, I don't even know what the IntelliJ keystroke is. Something like, Control O,
Yeah.
because it was developed somewhere in Eastern Europe,
Yeah.
and the keystrokes make really good sense if you speak like Romanian.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Cool. So yeah. So I know you're currently doing this. What are some of the new things that would be like you would be interested in like doing in terms of when you wake up? What do you wish could you would like to do, like within the job, right? Within your framework, like what motivates you?
Basically, I love writing code.
Mm-hmm.
Past week or two have been a little bit frustrating because there's some code I've already written that needs to be tested. And our testing platform got messed up.
Yeah.
So we had to go to an alternate testing platform that wasn't completely set up right. So we just keep, we've spent like a week trying to verify this code. But yesterday afternoon, finally, it worked.
Cool. Good Friday, right? Like it's always good
Yes, it
to
was
have
good
that
for
on
me.
a Friday saying end the week with a
Yeah.
victory.
No, I just, get up in the morning. I do a workout on the treadmill, eat breakfast, and then get to work. And I just really like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I
Cool.
write code. Somebody will ping me the question and say, hey, can you help me out with this? So we go into a quick huddle, and I try to help him. Meanwhile, there's a lot of stuff I'm still learning about the infrastructure. So I'm pinging people with questions. Can you help me out here?
Yeah.
And, it just makes for a very fulfilling day.
Nice. Yeah. So still kind of doing hands-on technical software development in a collaborative way, right?
Yeah, doing the software development is important to me.
Yeah.
I've had a chance a few times to go into a management,
Mm-hmm.
and I've always turned it down. I don't want to be a manager.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very important to realize what you like to do and what you don't like to do. I know some people are like, I've written code, but I don't think I like that. It's important to like ask yourself the question, saying what do you like to do? And you, just as you mentioned a couple of times, like the person will succeed only if they are doing something that they like to do.
Yeah, and at Storage Tech, my manager said, "Oh, there's a management training class going on. Are you interested?" And I said, "No, I see all the bull bleep they put you through. No, I don't want to."
Yeah, yeah. I remember like when I got my first management level job, I was like, the first management level job is the most difficult because uh you are being asked to do something, and more than likely they haven't given you the resources to do it because
Yeah,
they can't, because it's like you're new. Uh, and they haven't given you a team to do the work, but they're asking you to do the work and get it done. And yeah, the first management job is brutal.
yeah. I mean, my manager now I really like. He's technical enough. I mean, he knows enough that he can assist
Mm-hmm.
and guide you, but he's hands off enough that he doesn't tell you how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I just really find
Yeah.
that valuable. I've been micromanaged and I hate it.
Yeah.
There was one time at a different company, I had people needed to do data entry on these keys that were long, just long opaque character strings. They didn't represent anything.
Mm-hmm.
And once they were entered, they'd have to search by them. And they were like 20 characters long. And if you mistyped one, it just wouldn't find it. So Ajax was pretty new. So I said, what I should do is, catch the keystrokes and filter the list down as search things do. And my manager said, no, you only want to do that because you want to learn Ajax. And finally, he got enough complaints that he let me do it. But that's the kind of manager I just can't stand.
Yeah, makes sense. Like it's
where they know better than me.
Yeah, if there is a scope of improvement, if there is a way to make the life easier for the user, like why not do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. So yeah, apart from that, any other recommendations or career advice that you would like to share with people?
No. Like I say, just find something you like and then put the effort in to get really good at it.
Yeah.
That to me is the key to success.
Yeah.
And then
in today's world, it's very easy to get distracted, right? Like you like something, you start doing it, and then there is this other shiny little object that's distracting, saying, let's do this as well. And then you can't specialize in what you actually even like.
Yeah. But on the other hand, if you lose interest in what you formerly liked, if that becomes not good for you, go find something else.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I've been doing this for a living for 44 years. And I've switched gears a couple of times. Just because I was a system programmer for a long time, getting to do a little bit of development. And then I got hired by a company where I got to do, like more applications, system level type applications. But I got to do more code.
Yeah.
And then, moved to storage tech and did a lot of code. And I probably would have stuck with assembler language if anybody wanted to hire people who wrote it anymore.
Yeah. I think it might be making some comeback with everything going on right now, right? With a lot more of things heading towards the ARM architecture, with the focusing more on the GPU. I think there's going to be a lot more system level development that will be coming up, especially like now. Hopefully, quantum computing becomes a little more usable and little more few more applications. I think there will be a more of kind of I don't know what to call it, like embedded systems or something else that might be coming back in the future.
It might be, but I'm I'm close enough to the end of my career that I'm probably not going to learn another technology at this point.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So thanks. What's the best way somebody can reach out to you?
Contact me on LinkedIn. I monitor. I don't monitor it every minute, but if you send me a message on LinkedIn, I'll get it.
Okay.
I always try to answer questions if I can.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will ask me, "Can you help me learn Java?" The answer is no. That's kind of too big. Or I get lots of requests for people to mentor me, and I can't really do that. I don't have the time,
and where do you
I have too many.
Yeah, but if somebody is asking that question, if multiple people are asking that same question, where do you direct them? What would you ask them to actually?
I haven't had a good place. Basically, I just say, I'm sorry, I just can't.
Yeah.
I haven't recommended a place. There are a couple of mentoring sites. I can't remember the name of it right offhand. The pinned post on my LinkedIn profile is a list of some like 9 or 10 books that I really recommend. Refactoring is one of them.
Yeah.
Some of them are Java specific. Others are more just OO and general software engineering. So if anybody wants to look at that list, I recommend everything on it.
Yeah.
Not because I'm a paid influencer.
Sure.
I don't have any relationship other than as a reader.
Cool. Yeah, that's perfect. I think that will be a good starting point if somebody is interested in Java. Refer to those books first, and like when we and this is probably an advice for anybody asking for help from anybody, right? Saying ask us. You can ask help for a specific question, like asking a generalized help, saying, "Hey, I want a career in tech." I don't know how to help with that. Like they'll but if you have a very specific question saying this is something I'm doing, like you mentioned something about the networking part that you had mentioned a little earlier that Google used to use, and protocol
buffers.
Like if there's like some very specific question, then it's useful to reach out to one person and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, what do you think about it? And you might actually get an answer.
But can you help me learn Java? That's I can point you at a book, except the problem. Somebody said, do you recommend a good beginning Java book? I haven't read one for about 25 years. So people say Head First Java is good. Look at it, but I've never read it myself because it came out after I was past the beginner stage of Java.
And I think most of the books will cover majority of similar things. So there will be some that are better than the others, but most of the books will cover everything that you need to know to get started. So pick up something that's popular, pick up something that has good reviews, learn it, and then obviously like go through the other books and like just glance over it, and there might be a few other snippets that might be of interest. Read through all of it, and there is infinite resources available right now for learning things.
There's tons of things online. I'm not a big fan of LeetCode, but it's got some stuff to look at. But it's a lot of puzzle type questions. And when I was interviewing at Geico, they said I should expect 2 coding questions that were like medium level LeetCode. So I kind of looked through, what those were like. Didn't get one of those. One of them I did really well on. I did well on the design review. One of the coding questions I just absolutely bombed. I could not get my head around the problem, but they hired me anyway, so I guess it was okay.
Exactly. The tests are there's an aspect of test that is good and bad, right? Like the test itself is being tested, sometimes saying is it an issue with the test or is it an issue with the skill, right? We just never know. So cool. Sounds great. Thanks for coming on a busy Saturday, spending time with me and helping the audience learning more about you and about how to enter the tech industry.
Good. I'm happy to do it. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks, Jim.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Main Street Minds. Want to share your journey with our audience? Head over to mainstreetmindspodcast.com/guest to apply.